Good morning, Rabbi Isai. Okay, Rabbi Isai, here's a good one. If you didn't hear the shir yesterday, what food type that becomes tamei, you can make it tar. A person, if he becomes tummy, goes into the mikvah. Kli becomes tummy, put it in the mikvah. What type of food, put it in the mikvah, becomes tar? Oh, he's right. Water that becomes tummy. If you touch it to the mikvah, you do hashaka, you kiss it to the mikvah, you don't like pour it, but that becomes tar. So we have to finish off the sugya of temed, and then we're going to go on to the continuing mishnayos, chila, chalitza, mio, and all sorts of interesting stuff today. What's temed? Temed is when a person, I'll remind you here, Dailam really enjoyed this one. He ate 2 grapes and 200 pits come out of his mouth. He's trying to make wine. I guess anything can happen in a cartoon. I enjoyed the mayim turning into just the art. All right, so the Mishnah tells us that if it was machmitz, if it fermented, so it's considered wine. It's considered wine. You can purchase it with ma'aser sheni money. It's good for a mikvah. If it did not ferment, so it remains water. It remains water. You can't buy water with ma'aser sheni money. If you add sink water to a mikvah, it passes the mikvah. If you don't have a 40 saw and you add sink water before the 40 saw, it makes it possible. So it says the Gemara, we're starting where it says Gemara, 6 lines from the bottom of Chof Hayam and Beis. Mani Masnisin. Who does our Mishnah go like? Our Mishnah talks about becoming fermented and not fermented. That was the whole nafkamina. Says Gemara, Lo Rabbi Yehuda v'lo Rabbanon. It can't go neither like Rabbi Yehuda nor like Rabbanon. Why? The Sanya. Hamisamed. V'nosamayim b'mida. Somebody's trying to make temed. So he puts in a liter of water. Umatza k'dei midasai pater. He comes back a few days later, measures out the amount of liquid, and he finds exactly a liter. It might started fermenting. It's not fermented yet. It looks like a liter. It is a liter. So you pause it for meiser. Why? Because nothing changed. You put in a liter of water. You have a liter of water. Say chachamim. That's the indication that you didn't really benefit from this whole temet. Nothing came out of the grape seeds. Rabbi Yehuda says, listen, naturally water evaporates. So if you put in a liter, you should have a little bit less than a liter. How do you have a full liter now? Obviously, some of the grapes went into the water, and now you have real temet. So you should have to give meiser off this. But there's no mention whether or not this mixture fermented or not. It doesn't say anything about fermentation. It says, did you find the liter or not? That's the whole problem here. Mani Rabbanon afagav the hechmetz. According to Rabbanon, it doesn't matter even if fermented. If it's the same amount, it's not considered wine. Even if it didn't ferment, it's considered wine, and yichayv b'meiser. No. You missed it. The whole point over there is that it became fermented. That's where it's machlokes. And if it didn't ferment, then Rabbi Yehuda is maskim that there's no meiser. Umas nisim Rabbi Yehuda. And our Mishnah would be Rabbi Yehuda. Why? Because according to Chachamim, if it became fermented, it's pater for meiser. If it's the same amount of water, then nothing happened according to Chachamim. So our Mishnah differentiates between hichmetz and lo hichmetz is talking about Rabbi Yehuda. Says the Gemara, "V'chein Amar Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Chanina b'shehichmetz machlokes," and only when it became fermented is machlokes. Listen to this chiddush. If you purchase unfermented temet, he did the process. He mixed water with grapes, and he wanted to become some sort of wine, and you purchase it with ma'aser sheni money. Are you allowed to purchase it with ma'aser sheni money? We said no. It's lo hichmetz. You're not allowed to purchase ma'aser. But then you found out that it did become temed. Kona ma'aser. So the guy, listen to this. Let's go backwards. Let's say you purchase temed, and you find out that it never became temed. It didn't work. It didn't ferment. It didn't ferment. So what happens to the money? You bought the temed from a guy. He's a seller. What does the seller do with the money? And therefore what? And therefore what? Oh, he bought it with Ma'aser Sheni money. So now the seller has a problem on his hands. He has Ma'aser Sheni money in his hands. If it became temed, like Rav Nachman says later on, it became temed. So then the money changes as it becomes temed. Then we know that it was a good purchase, and the money goes out and becomes regular Chullin, and the guy can do whatever he wants. He can buy a car with the money. But if it never became temed, then he never had a right to buy it with the Ma'aser Sheni money. So the Ma'aser Sheni money has a kedusha in it. It has kedusha in it. He has to only use that money in Yerushalayim to buy food. My taima. But if it fermented, says Rav Nachman, if it did ferment, igloi milsala mafreya de peru, and then we see retroactive that what he purchased here was mamish fruit. But it says in the Mishnah, whole nafkamina, to become fermented, not become fermented. Ishafke have a machmitz. Dilmi ishafke have a machmitz. Since most of the temed, why would people waste their time with it? Most of the time it becomes temed. So if you have roiv, then it should then just wait it out. In other words, even without waiting it, it's mashma from the Mishnah that if it didn't become fermented, right now it's a problem. Why? You have a roiv, most of the time it's machmitz, so it shouldn't be a problem. Why are you telling me puzzle? Omer Rabba, you're right. Kishashir mimenu bekois v'lo yichmitz. We're talking about a situation where he put a sample on the side. In a factory, they call it a retention sample, something like that. Like they take a little sample of food and they put it on the side. This is from Tuesday. This is from Wednesday. If there's any issues with it, you put a little sample. And then you go back to that sample. You see, did it become fermented? Did it not become fermented? You'll know. So this is a beautiful shita. Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri says that it's always dependent on one thing. Could you tell right now, does it look, does it walk like a duck, does it look like a duck? What does it look like? That's all I care about. What does it smell like? Right now, when I mix it, when I buy it, it's not, you have the 3 lug that ruin the mikvah, but it's missing a tiny drop. It's not 100% 3 lug. It's minus 1 ounce. And a tiny drop of wine fell into these 3 lug. And what happened? It changed the color of all the water. It looks like wine, so it's not possible. But not only that, and what if a little drop of milk fell into it? And milk looks like water. Now it doesn't look like wine, it looks like water. Why does it not become possible? Because now milk fell into the mikveh. Milk doesn't pass on mikveh. Before wine fell into the mikveh, it doesn't pass on. Rabbi Yochanan says no, there's a distinction between milk and wine. Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri omer hakoil hoylech acher hamara. Lavo mar Rabbi Yochanan basar chazusa azlinon hachinami basar chazusa. Zil basar is chazusa v'taimo v'chazusa dahai mayaninu. Right now, it looks and it smells like water. So even if you find out later that it became chametz, even if later it became chametz, it became fermented, it doesn't matter, says Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. I look at it right now. Right now, it's water, so it's possible. Upliga de Rebbe Lazar. This, Reb Nachman, that what? Reb Nachman says that you go after, if eventually we find out that this is wine, that the time it turned into wine, so we go by, then retroactively, it was a good sale, it works. In other words, according to Reb Nachman, the machlokes is when, after it became fermented. Upliga de Rebbe Lazar. You can't, when it comes to temed, you can't take meiser from another temed. In other words, you and I, we both tried the same day. We took a bunch of grapes, pits, we put into water, we tried to make temet. I have to take meiser, you take meiser, but you don't use mine for your meiser, I don't use yours for my meiser. Only if it became fermented. Meaning that hakol moedim, everybody agrees that in order to be mafresh meiser from another place, it has to be fermented. It's mashma. That Rabbi Yehuda would say, he would argue, even in the case of loy hichmetz. Everybody agrees in hichmetz, but in loy hichmetz, it's only Rabbi Yehuda. Because savar b'loy hichmetz, machloikis. This would be machloikis. V'atkan loy mechayev Rabbi Yehuda, elimineu bei. Rabbi Yehuda says when you have to take meiser, even loy hichmetz, you only take the meiser from itself. You can't use your friends. The Gemara explains why can't you take from your friend? Because what if we find out later? We always have to be concerned that it doesn't become wine. And what if I took non-wine? I took regular sink water and I used it for meiser on my stuff. It doesn't work. That would be a big problem of tevel. And what if I took wine, real wine? My friend has real wine. I have fake. I have sink water. I took real wine and I used it as meiser on my water. So I just used real good fruit, the reisa chiyuv fruit, on water. That's a big problem. All right, new sugya. Hatemed actually hichmitz meshikoy b'mayim. So this is Moridik halacha. I have tomei temed, right here in this cup. Fill it up to the top. And I kind of kiss the water of the mikvah with it. I go in slowly, let the water of the mikvah touch my temed, and then I take it out. We even have a video of it, if anybody wants to see. You do ashaka. By the way, we have ashaka in mikvahs today. We have, the main bar that you dunk in, but there's like a little hole on the side, and it goes into a bar zriya, bar ashaka. That's where the make shamim are, and it touches what?
We have it in the sample.
In the sample, correct. You want to get it, please? Shkoyach. Right here is a hole. Right here is a hole. Bar zriya, bar ashaka. So Rava says an interesting thing, which the Gemara says I literally don't get it. He makes a distinction between whether the water of the temed was tahar before he started the process of temed, or it became, and then only afterwards it became tameh, or the water was tameh beforehand. He says you cannot make temed that was tameh before you started the whole process of temed. You can't make it tar. Why? A wild svar the Gemara is going to come up with. We don't understand why. If you started, you had a nice cup of tar water, then you added pits to it, and then you tried to make temet, and then it became tummy. Then take it to the mikvah and touch the mikvah. But if the water was tummy, then you added temet to it, it's not going to work. I don't understand why. He said this over to Rav Ashi. So maybe I can understand. He says like this: because the water of the temet is heavy, they go down. Gravity pulls them down, and all the fruit floats to the top. Because and memela will be a problem to get a good hashaka, because when you try to touch the mikveh water to the temet, it's going to be blocked by all these. The peels and the pits are going to disturb it. That's the only thing I can come up with. So what's the difference when the water became tummy? It's the same ingredients in the water. The water is going to go down to the bottom. The top is going to be a bunch of floaters, and those floaters are going to disturb the whole process. Obviously, there's water, there's floaters, but it's going to get through. The mikveh is going to get through. What is the difference? That's it. What are the 5-6 ways that a Amma Ivriya if a father sells his daughter as a slave, Torah says he could. How does she go out? So we have Yovel, we have the age of Naira, if the master dies, if the master marries her, if they redeem her, if, what else? Yovel I said. Simonim is Naira. Okay. The Torah says that a father could sell his daughter. And we see the same musig that the Torah says you're not, the only person that can marry off a daughter is a father. Yet Chachamim said no. That even if there's no father, the father died, the brother can marry off. Because we're talking about this girl is going to go to waste. She's going to get lost somewhere. Bad things are going to happen to her. So they allowed this to marry her off, but there's something called miyun, that if a brother or a mother marry her off, since it's only the Rabbanan, then all the girl needs to do is say, I don't want to be married to you. That's it. I don't want to be married to you. I want to go home. So she leaves. So says the Mishnah, Kol makom sheyesh mecher ein knas. If she's that old that you could sell her off, in other words, she's a ktana, there's 3 ages. There's ktana, that's 0 to 12. Nara is from 12 to 12 and a half, provided she has simonim. And a beger is from 12 and a half on. If she's so young, she's in the first category of ktana, where you could sell her off, and knas. So if somebody was ma'anes or mafata her, then they have to pay the father chamishim kesef. But that's only in the middle stage of nara, not by ktana. V'chol makom sheyesh knas ein mecher. At every place that there's a knas, if she's old enough, in other words, she's in the age of 12, then he can't sell her off. So if she's a ktana, she's not a naira. She's not a ktana, basically. That's what it says. This goes according to Rav Meir that says that there's no knas. If somebody was ma'anas or mafata, a young girl, there's no knas. That even a ktana, there's a knas. Says Gemara, there's Tanya, ktano mi bas yomecho that shetovis shtei sayris yesh lo mecher ve'en lo knas. That's what we're saying now. This is our shita, Rav Meir, that until she's a naira, until she brings simanim, you could sell her, but there's no knas. In the naira period, the yesh knas, then that's the only time the Torah says that you have to pay a fine. Vein lamecher, and the father can't sell her. Divri Meir. Shor Meir oimer kol makom sheyesh mecher in knas, v'kol makom sheyesh knas ein mecher. That's our Mishnah. However, Chacham argue, Chacham say that has to do with royal labia, and any girl from 3 and up is royal labia. So Mela, there's a knas by oinus and mafata. So what? So Mela, there is a situation where she's a ktana, so there is knas and there is mecher at the same time. But the Gemara asks, we only spoke about knas in this line. We didn't say anything about mecher. Knas in mecher loy. How come you don't mention that there's also the father could sell her when she's a ktana? Imav knas b'mogem mecher. You're right. It means both. Says the Mishnah, Kol makom sheyesh miyun ein chalitza. Miyun is when a brother or a mother marry off the daughter when she's a ktana. So a very strange thing, she doesn't require a get at all. All she needs to do is say, Lechafatzti, Biyasi, whatever the guy's name is, I don't want to be married to him. Shalom Yisrael. Memela, if she's that young that she could do miyun, in other words, she's a ktana, ein chalitza. There's no chalitza. Kol makom sheyesh miyun ein chalitza, kol makom sheyesh chalitza ein miyun. Omer Rav Yidom Rav, Zu Divri Meir. Again, this only goes according to Rav Meir. Chacham oimrim yesh miyun b'makom chalitza. You could do miyun even when she's a nara. The Sanya, how do we know? There's a very short period of time where she could do miyun even when she's above 12 with siman. The Sanya. Al Motzei Abbas Memanis. Until what time? How old is she when she do miyun? Achetavi shtei sayres Divri Meir. Till she has 2 simanim. 2 hairs. Rabbi Yehuda Omer at Shir ba'Shachar al-Lavan. So Rabbi Yehuda says it's a little more than that. It has to be that there's more dark than light, more dark than skin. In other words, it's not stam 2 simanim, but it takes a few weeks later, or whatever it is, a certain period of time, where she's considered a naira, So she could do miyun at that point, but also certainly chalitza. She do chalitza because she's a naira, but even miyun. Says the Mishnah, in the time of the Gemara, they used to blow a shofar before Shabbos, like we do today. There's a signal, there's a siren. Today they play music, they do a whole siren thing. So 2.5 hours before Shkia was the first siren. That would tell people to come out of the fields and come home. Then they would do a trua, that was a tekiah. Then they do a trua that would signal to the store owners to close shop. They did another one, like right before Shkia, that told people that they had to light candles, take the pots off the oven, etc. Today it's a whole big thing. It says it's gula, whoever does the trua, the tekiah gets gula for kids, whatever. So the last one, when it's like do not do malacha, is tekiah, trua, tekiah. Tekiah is the long one, trua is tu, and tekiah. So says the Gemara, Mishnah, when do we do Havdalah? Motzei Shabbos or Motzei Yontif. But if I'm doing a tekiah, if I'm doing the siren, then ain't Havdalah. In other words, if it's like Erev Shabbos, going into Yontif is Erev Shabbos, I'm not going to do, we'll see in the Mishnah. In other words, we're talking about a Yontif and Shabbos together. Either Shabbos is first, Yontif is second, or Yontif is first and Shabbos is second. So when I do a tekiah, then I'm not going to do Havdalah. But if I'm going to say Havdalah between Yontif and Shabbos, then I'm not going to blow the shofar. Yontif shechal li is be'erev Shabbos. Here, the Mishnah explains. Yontif shechal li is be'erev Shabbos. If Yontif falls out, mamish like this year on Shavuos, Yontif fell out on a Friday. Yontif shechal li is be'erev Shabbos. Toikin, I have to blow the shofar between Shavuos and Shabbos to tell people stop cooking. You're not allowed to cook anymore. It's not. We're going into Shabbos. V'loi mavdilin. What am I going to make Havdalah? Havdalah is from Kodesh to Chol. But over here I'm going from a lesser Kedusha to more of a Kedusha. So there's no point to me of making Havdalah. B'motzei Shabbos mavdilin v'loi toikim. When Motzei Shabbos is Yontif, then I do Havdalah because I'm going from a more Kedusha to less, but there's nothing to blow the shofar for. Ketzem Avdilim, when Yontif is on Motzei Shabbos, what kind of Havdalah do I do? I say, Hamavda ben Kodesh leKodesh. I'm going from a severe Kedusha of Shabbos. Shabbos is always more Kodesh than Yontif to Kal. Heichi Tekeya. How does it look like? Omar Rav Yehuda Tekeya Umeria. When Yontif is on Erev Shabbos, what do? I Tekeya Umeria b'toich Tekeya. I do tekiah, and it goes straight in to trua. I don't pause. Tekiah, trua. Rav Asi Omar tekiah umeria b'neshima achas. Okay, fine. So anyway, it's in one shot. Not that was tekiah, and then in one shot. Whereas in a regular Shabbos you do tekiah and then you stop, and then you do a trua, or b'neshima achas in one breath. Asking Rav Asi behutzol in Hutzol in the city, that you should do it in one shot when you have Yontif on Erev Shabbos. But the problem is, it says Yontif shechal is Erev Shabbos. Our case, that Yontif was Erev Shabbos, like this year Shavuos toikim v'loy merim. It seems like you don't do a trua at all. It's just one tekiah. My la'av loy merim cloud. It seems like you don't do a trua. Loy. No, there is a trua just according to each shita. In other words, it's a tekiah with the trua together, so that's why we don't call it a trua. Or it's a tekiah and you don't take a breath and then you do a trua, so we don't call it a trua. Rav Yehuda matar zetamei, Rav Asi matar zetamei. Rav Yehuda matar zetamei, lo merim v'nei atzim v'toich tekiah. It's not an individual trua; it goes together with the tekiah, so we don't call it a trua. Rav Asi matar zetamei, lo merim shtei neshima, lo neshima achas. Since it's one breath, so we don't consider it a trua. Or Motzei Shabbos, when Yontif falls out on Motzei Shabbos. In regular Havdalah, we say, Hamavdil ben Kodesh l'chol ben or l'choshech. So we say Hamavdil ben Kodesh l'chol, and then we say what? Baruch atah Hashem Hamavdil ben kodesh l'chol. So we say the same thing twice. What about when Yontif falls out on Motzei Shabbos? When do you say a kodesh l'kodesh? Do we say Hamavdil ben kodesh l'kodesh or ben or l'choshech miYisrael l'amim? That doesn't sound right. We never say that. We say Baruch Atah Hashem Hamavdil ben kodesh l'kodesh. That we do say at the end. Omer Rav Yehuda b'chasimasa, only at the end. V'chein Omer Rav Nachman b'chasimasa. Rav Sheshes b'reder Rav Yehuda Omer Afi b'dich chasa. You would say Baruch Atah Hinei kodesh Hamavdil ben kodesh l'kodesh ben or l'choshech miYisrael l'amim. We don't pass him like him. You don't say on Motzei Yontif, oh, we're going in from a lighter Kedusha to a more of a Kedusha. That's a bizayon to the Yontif. Rabbi say Yontif shechal liyos ben Shabbos. If Yontif falls, how? Rabbi say, how does Yontif fall out in the middle of a Shabbos? How? Pesach, in the middle of Shabbos. Means in the middle of the week. Yontif shechal liyos ben Shabbos. If Yontif falls out in the middle of the week, Omer Hamavdil ben kodesh l'chol. But Hamavdil ben kodesh l'chol, that's good. Beino l'choshech, HaKadosh Baruch Hu divides between kodesh and mundane, between or l'choshech, light and dark. Ubein Yisrael amim. But what does this mean? Ubein yoyim hashvi l'sheish yimei haMatzah. You're on a Tuesday. Why are you saying between the 7th day, the Shabbos, and the rest of the week? Says Gemara, my time I say the Havdalah Sumayna. You're saying it like it says in the Torah. The Torah makes that Havdalah, and you're just finishing off. Like you need Hadran aloch hakol shoychtin, Hadran aloch hakol shoychtin, Hadran aloch hakol shoychtin, and now you could say, Rabbi Sai, have a wonderful day.
Merit the schus of spreading Torah throughout the world. Sponsor a shir today. MDYsponsor.com or sponsor at MDY.com.